Okay, so guys, right now what we're going to do is just have a little panel discussion for the future of the industry. This is something that people always ask us about. There's so much talk going on, AI, robo, mergers, marketing. I just wanted to ask a couple of questions and just get your, pick your brains as founders, as people who are bringing in lots of advisors and helping raise them up in the industry. I have a couple of questions for you. So you are both growing big businesses now. And I just would like to maybe start out with that. Like, how many people do you have at your firm now, David?
How many people work there?
Yep.
About half of them.
Yeah.
I get it.
A little slow. Yep.
We support about 100 financial advisors in 26 or 27 states.
170 in 26 or 27 states. Wow. Okay, that's a lot. Fantastic. And Dean, what about you and your firm?
So our firm is growing, but it's only growing because of marketing. It's not that I ever set out to, build a big OSJ like David here has done. And Mike and I, when we were doing successful money management seminars back in the early 90s, we just needed more advisors to see the people that we didn't have time to see or the lower net worth. And that's just continued over the last 33 years. So it's just kind of happened that way. And I'm very interested to hear from David on some of the futures of mergers and acquisitions and partial mergers. I heard last night at the dinner, 2 people that sold part of their practice. Yep. And held on to the rest of it. New concept to me totally, although I'm not interested in selling or anything like that. Knowing what is out there and happening is really important, and especially with so much marketing that I do as a financial advisor and growing that business, people come to me and say, hey, how do you split fees with advisors? How does the pay work? What does the industry look like? What's normal? How much should I pay people? All that kind of stuff is very confusing, I think, probably to everybody in this room, myself included, and we just more or less wing it. So we're certainly going to open this up to questions, anything about marketing and building kind of a boutique ensemble, or selling part of the practice, or mergers and acquisitions. But there's so many ways to make money in this industry. Marketing, mergers, right? The 2 big M&Ms.
Yep.
But another thing I want to point out is you can be the best financial advisor in your town. You probably aren't. Me either. That's supposed to be funny. But you can be the best financial advisor in your town. A lot of those guys go out of business because they don't have a business mind like David, or they don't have a marketing mind like myself. And you're all here today because you care about your business, and you care about marketing, you care about growing, you care about learning. So I want to learn from David a little bit on some of that.
I mean, it's a different perspective. So Dean's built a very, very successful practice. I've known Dean for over 20 years. When I first met Dean, I was 6'3" and had a full head of hair. That just goes back to show you how long it's been. So I think there's who played blackjack last night? Anybody? So when you have an 11 and the dealer is showing a 6, what do you do? This is the time right now in this industry to double down. There's 3 reasons why. The first reason, there's massive consolidation happening in the industry. 40% of the broker-dealers in the last 10 years have gone out of business or merged with somebody. About 8% of the advisors over the same period of time, there's about 8% decline in advisors. So as Robert just spoke, we got 10,000 baby boomers every day that are turning 65 and need advice. We've got all of this disruption in the industry with broker-dealers becoming more like clearing firms and these RIAs starting, the M&A activity and this consolidation. So we've got all of this change in the industry as to how we affiliate with firms and how products and advice are offered to the consumer. Meanwhile, we've got this big need for more advice. But I think the other part of this is that a third of our industry is going to retire in the next 10 years. So we've got all of these dynamics happening. We've got consolidation, a bigger need for advice. We've got a third of the industry that's going to retire, which opens up that whole M&A thing, right? Because the competition, you guys aren't competition for each other. You guys are running really successful practices, and that's why you're here. But I'm amazed at the advisors that are 60 or 70 years old who their business model is, I'm going to sell American funds to people, and I'm going to answer the phone if you call me. right? So that's where this business is coming from. We're going to close 8 transactions for advisors. Now, Dean's a personal producer. I'm not. I don't have any clients, so we're really supporting advisors. But we're going to help 8 advisors make acquisitions that we're going to close between now and the end of the year. Kurt's going to do 2 on October 1st. 2. So there's a way to basically triple your business. So what's happening is now is the time to really be looking at 2 things. I think M&A for advisors that really want to grow. But the second thing is there's new clients, but most of the clients that you're taking them from somebody else. And people today, more than ever, want the advice. And this is another big change. We've moved from a seller's economy to a buyer's economy, and the internet did that. And let me explain what I mean. If you think about before the internet and buying a car, right? The dealership had the car. We wanted to buy it, but the dealership had all the information on the car. So you'd have to go down to the dealership. You have to sit down with a sales guy, go through a brochure, pick the color out, take it for a test drive, go back and forth. You had no idea if it was a good car or not. Think about what the internet did to that, right? The dealership still has the car. We still want to buy it, but who has all the information today? We have all the information. So take advantage of that. We have all of the information. So if we want to go buy a car, we go to the internet. I can watch 100 reviews. I can design my car on the dealership website. I can figure out what a good price is. I don't need the dealer anymore, right? I hate the process. I don't need the dealer. When we think about how consumers are working with us, they've got all of the information about their financial advisor before they come to the office. They want the education. And if you're there through mechanisms like WhiteGov to provide that information, that's the entry point. So they want to look at that information and then look at the experience you create from them. And then from that, they're going to make a buying decision. And the cool part of it is 1/3 of the industry is checked out. So, these older advisors, they've got their high school yearbook picture up on their website, and they haven't looked like that in 40 years. And when the client shows up, it's like, who are you? So I think that the bar in a lot of cases is low, but it's not going to stay low for very long. And here's what's happening. The competition that's out there is getting a lot better. And I think that that's something to really understand. Now it's easy. It's going to get harder. As these assets shift from these old advisors to really skilled operators, skilled at running the business, it's going to be harder. These firms are creating a much better client experience, and I can't stress on how important that is. Folks like Diana spoke about it. I can't stress. We are in the client experience business now. We are not in the financial services business. So every day when you show up, I travel a lot, right? I spend a lot of time in hotel rooms, and I checked into the hotel room yesterday, got to the room, and there's a bed in the hotel room. I wasn't very surprised, right? If there's not a bed, I'm surprised. If I come to a financial advisor and I don't get financial advice, I'm pretty surprised. It's like the bed. It doesn't get you anything. So it's about, hey, I got the bed, but how did everything else go?
So the bed's the commodity, right?
The bed is
the financial plan is the commodity. So how do we differentiate ourselves, not be commodities in the eyes of these prospects and clients that are looking for help?
So I think one is to be the entry point, right? So talk about for a second the why White Glove and why that education is so important, because I think that that's a huge differentiator.
Yeah, I like your analogy about doubling down right now. Our firm, your firm, you should really pat yourselves on the back to come here, take time out. Probably you have kids going away to college right now, maybe their first day, high school, grandkids, anything like that. And you chose to come here to kind of sharpen your saw a little bit. And none of us really like to travel. None of us really like to market. I know you don't like to spend money on marketing. I don't like to spend money on marketing. There is such a incredible opportunity. I've been doing this 33 years right now. We happen to use education, as you're saying, to go out in the community. And I feel good. I do. I feel very good about getting out in front of an audience, having our sub-advisors go out in front of an audience and educate them on Social Security or something else. Obviously, it's about making money. It's about building that relationship with a person. I mean, I had somebody, this was a couple of years ago now, that was crying in my office, a gentleman who, and I'm trying not to choke up myself, his daughter was very troubled, adult daughter. He was raising her child, his grandchild, and was struggling financially. Went to a Social Security seminar. So at first I'm like, darn it, he doesn't have much money, you know. Darn, I should have done estate planning or taxes in retirement. I'm doing this. But as talking to him and he's struggling, I tell him that, you know, he can actually file for, so if he becomes the, if he, what's that called when you?
Guardian?
Thank you, guardian. See, I told you I'm not that good of a financial advisor. So yeah, if you become the guardian, he was going to get $1,700 a month. He started crying. He says, this is life-changing for me. So the education piece of it that Mike and I and Jeff, you know, it's such a double win for us, for the community, and then to grow the business that way when there's so much opportunity. David said that, what was it, 8% of our industry is retiring, something like that, or third? What did you say?
We got third of the industry in the next 10 years is
Next
gonna
10
retire.
years. All those orphaned clients
And I
out
think
there.
half of them have already retired. They just haven't told anybody.
Yeah,
yet.
mentally,
I think
right?
that's the truth.
It is the truth. And what do we do with our books of business? I chose to put together a succession plan. And so these folks with, you know, Mike and I hired younger guys than us, right? We're both in our 50s. If you don't have a sub rep, you should. You should have one or two. They'll do anything for you. I mean, Ryan filled up my car this morning. Anything you want them to do, they're just looking for an opportunity to get into this incredible industry. So get out there and market to your community. Mergers and acquisitions are so hot. And one of the things I really want to hear about is, like, I saw you in a FA magazine, I think it was FA magazine a month or so ago, and you buy little pieces of books of business for people at LPL is one of the things that you do. What does that look like? Because I had never heard of that until just recently.
Who here has made an acquisition of a practice? So if a couple people have. So here's the truth about it. About 92% of the deals that were done last year were done by repeat buyers. The repeat buyers have gotten really, really good. We helped 20 advisors in the last 2 years make acquisitions. We will do 10, 12 plus this year. And these are not acquisitions that we're making. We're helping advisors acquire another practice. I think there's a couple of things. One, we talked about the older advisors, but also this is a business where people can work forever. I mean, I've got an advisor who has been with me for 30 years. He's 83 years old and he's still in the office every day. Now, he sold his practice to another advisor. He enjoys what he does. He wants to get out of the house from his wife so she doesn't drive him crazy. So he's doing this as a way to, I think, live the lifestyle that he wants to live. He doesn't need the money anymore, right? But when you look at this, a lot of older advisors are very committed to this industry and want to work forever. So I think one of the best strategies in the M&A side is a sell and stay, where you get the advisor to sell part of their practice today and stay in the business. That's a much more palatable transaction for so many advisors. So they can sell the business today or sell a portion of it. 65, 75% they sell today, they retain the balance. So there's a couple of real reasons why I think advisors find this much more palatable, and it's a way to get a transaction done much more quickly. One is for tax reasons. Advisors often write off a lot of stuff: home office, personal travel, car, cell phone. So if an advisor that's making $1 million can sell $750 and keep $250, they can continue to take the same deductions that they were making before. They're not taking that entire asset and converting it to long-term capital gains and paying the taxes all at once. They can continue to work for a period of 4 or 5 more years and still get the 1099 income to have the ability to take those deductions. Very, very appealing to people. The second thing is it comes back down to marketing. So you listen to all of the things that you're talking about today of strategies. These older advisors aren't doing that. So we helped 2 advisors make an acquisition a year and a half ago. They brought on about $60 million of new assets in 6 or 7 months from that practice. This is an advisor with 70, and he was, he sold American funds, and he would answer the phone if you called him. That was his client service model. And when the advisors came in and started to meet with these people and do planning, they found all of this new money. They found all of this new money that they had never asked about. So I think that was a way instantly to make that acquisition really, really attractive because they grew it. They had good processes in place to make it happen. And that ended up being nothing short of a home run. The seller, this is the seller's words after 3 months. He said, I knew I left some meat on the bones. I just didn't think I left the whole cow. And he left the whole cow because there was just so much opportunity there. Kurt's making an acquisition right now. October 1, he's going to close it, one of our advisors here. Kurt, how long did you spend with Tim talking to him about that acquisition? He spent 4 years talking to Tim. Tim wasn't ready to sell. I talked to the seller about the sell and stay strategy, and 3 months later, he comes back from Florida and is set to go, and we're closing it. So part of this is that transaction, I think, is much, much more appealing in a lot of cases. Number one thing on the M&A side, figure out what the seller wants. If you can't figure that out, nothing is ever going to happen. So it's about asking a lot of questions. When I coach advisors through the first meeting with a seller, this is what I hear. It's like, so I ask the question, what do you want to learn about? Well, I want to know how old are their clients, what's their average account size, how long the client's been with them, all of these questions. I look at them and say, well, we're not going to ask any of those. So ask the questions about, as you look at a successor for these clients who I'm sure are your friends, what are the values that you'd be looking for someone, a financial advisor who's going to work with these people? Make it about, go ahead. How do you find the sellers? I don't think there's one way to find the sellers. So I think this goes back to, there's tons of different ways. You can take a really simple approach, which is go to industry luncheons. This is really technical. You might want to take notes on this because it's very complicated. You go to an industry lunch and sit next to the oldest person in the room. That's one of the ways to do it. And we've actually had really good success come out of that. So we laugh about it, but I can just say, sit down and don't say, hi, you look really old. You're looking to sell. So it's about striking that up, saying something like, hey, you've been doing this for a really long time. I'm sure I could learn a lot from you. I'm relatively new in the industry. Could I get together for a cup of coffee and just learn a little bit more? Maybe you could share some tips with me. And take something like that leads that into a deeper conversation. So that's one way. We're a hybrid RIA with LPL. So we've got 22,000 at-bats with a lot of older advisors. So internally within the broker-dealer, we'll identify areas where we want to find advisors to make acquisitions, and we'll directly contact those people. So I think it's about, one is just be out there and there's no one way. I think it's the same thing about getting a client. There's no one way to get a client, but there's lots of different ways. And it's very easy to identify because you can figure out the age demographics of the advisor, which at least gets you in the right ballpark there.
You might be wondering, why are we talking about M&A at Host University? We're supposed to be talking about how to, increase your ROI from seminars, right? So one kind of pillar of the way I live my life is always thinking 2 or 3 steps ahead. I think that's very important. I think you all probably do it as well. You someday will be that man or woman that's looking to sell because you're marketers. You're looking to grow. You're looking to take advantage right now, whether you do, a radio show, TV, billboards, seminars with us, without us, it doesn't matter. You're spending a lot of money on marketing, a lot of effort on marketing. Don't just leave that behind down the road. You need to start thinking today about all this money you're spending with White Glove or our competitors. How do you get the most ROI out of that before you're in the grave, right? How do you leave the most for your kids or behind for your spouse? And the sell and stay, the reason we wanted David up here, I had never heard of the sell and stay method. It sounds like the best of both worlds. Now, I'm not with LPL, so I can't do most of you. I don't know if any of you are with LPL, a couple maybe. So he's here as a friend to kind of talk about the future of the industry and the future of your practice. So you might build now and buy something now, and then you're going to want to maximize that. So someday, I think most of us got into this industry, not so much to get out of it. Someday you'll have to. But if you can have 1 foot in retirement and 1 foot still with working with your friends and family, working with your clients, that's the best of both worlds. So I love that concept. So
I think it's more about doubling down, right? So I think making an acquisition, if you're not going to change that client experience and grow it and get more assets, then don't make the acquisition, right? So that's a lot of work. Doing workshops is a lot of work. The other part, though, is being out there publicly. For the advisors that are very active on social, get on TV. You want to be on social TV. So when these people come to a workshop, what's the first thing they're going to do when they get into the room?
Eat a cookie?
After they eat the cookie, what are they going to do?
Sit down?
And then what are they going to do? You're making this hard. Come on.
Dude, it's harder on me, believe me. They're
going to Google the presenter. Let's just be open. They're going to Google the presenter. That's the first thing they're going to do. And if they can't find you, then your credibility is way down. If they Google you as the presenter and up comes a link to your social, to the thing that you were on TV on, to your website that's modern and professional and educational, right? These are the things that are going to change your effectiveness of the workshop by a lot, right? And I can't stress that enough. Dean's giving you the tools. They're going to get the people in the room. But here's the coolest part about White Glove, which I think is just a giant differentiator in the industry. It's this. This is what's the difference, because it's very easy to put people in the room, but then you don't have success. White Glove has a vested interest. One, they're going to guarantee the success of having people come. But then two, they're really giving you the tools that you need through a mechanism like this to train you to be successful. Because if you're successful, you're going to do more workshops and do more business with them.
I never even thought of that.
Simple.
That's a great concept.
But build yourself up. Like, this is where I can't stress enough. Make sure that you're well positioned socially and publicly, because again, seller's economy, buyer's economy. Give the buyer all that information to easily find you, and if you do that, it's going to greatly enhance your ability to get more closes.
So we have 3 minutes for questions. Would you like to take a couple?
Let's do it.
Up front?
There are some people that will say buying in practice, yes, there's some opportunities there, but you're also buying a bunch of problems from somebody else. You're better off spending the money and building it. Thoughts on that?
You know, I like the second thing.
You know, I think there's cases. We've got advisors who would never make an acquisition. So I've got an advisor in Texas. 95% of her clients are Chevron retirees. A shitty account's $1 million, right? So she's got a very defined niche. She works with oil company executives, predominantly at Chevron, who are retirees. That's it. She would never buy a practice. I've got another advisor who started 10 years ago from scratch with us, unlicensed. He's the former CFO of Aetna, and then prior to that, the CFO of Cigna. Started brand new as an advisor. We'll do $1 million this year, all recurring. He's working with insurance company executives. So as advisors where I don't think that acquisition would make sense. Even if you make an acquisition, though, the opportunity is to grow the acquisition. It's not to buy what you bought. Think of it as buying a client list that's going to generate some money to help pay it off. It's in your ability to really work it and grow it. That's the key. Kurt and I spoke. I mean, I think we can increase the business on that acquisition that he's making right now by 50% this year, maybe even more, right? So I think it's about growing it. I think it's about doing both. When I say now's the time to double down, it's the easiest time to grow. And I don't think there's one or the other. I think it's about doing both and not one or the other. I really can't stress that. It's the time to be marketing as aggressively as you can, because it's going to get harder. It's going to get harder from this point forward. The competition, there's going to be less competition, but it's going to be a heck of a lot better. Your competition is not going to be the Edward Jones guy down the corner. It's going to be scaled up. The other big shift in the industry is this. If you think about doctors, and I think Diana mentioned doctors, 2002, 75% of physicians own their own practice and 25% work for a hospital or an aggregator. In 9 years, that number flip-flopped, and today it's zero. A doctor doesn't own his own practice. And they did that to get more scale. And that's another big shift. This is what that shift is happening right now in financial advisors. And the shift is that the technology and the deliverable is so much more amazing today than what that solo doctor could have ever done. The client experience is amazing. You know, the hospital's got online apps and confirmations and follow-up calls and automated emails that go out to check-in. So they've used all of these things that scale has created a much better experience, which again is another driving force to change and I think make those clients a lot stickier as time goes on.
Plus private equity gave the doctor $3 million to make that switch.
Plus private equity gave them a lot of money, as they are in financial services.
Guys, this has been amazing. I know we have another question back here, but what I'm going to ask so we can stay on track is that you please seek these gentlemen out as we get the stage moved up and ready for our next speaker. But I want to thank you so much for sharing what you shared today. It's great to hear from people who have that aggregate view over all of the stuff that's going on right now in the industry. So thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Laura. Thanks, Laura.
All right, guys.
Thank you.
Shake hands.